Time check, 36 minutes after the hour of 1 o'clock. It's time for another exciting edition of Issues right here on Freedom FM 106.5. Just want to say a pleasant good afternoon to everyone in Radio Land, everyone who's listening via our website and our app. I'm joined here today with Ras Kalunji, and he's no stranger to the studios of Freedom FM 106.5. And so I'd like to say a pleasant good afternoon to Ras Kalunji. Good afternoon, sir.
Pleasant good afternoon, my brother.
Yes.
I'd just like to shout out to all the listeners of Freedom FM, and all the brothers and sisters listening via the World Wide Web. Before we go any further, I'd just like to send condolences to the Libert family.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
For the passing of their loved one, Mr. Kyle Reeves Libert.
Yes.
I'd just like to give a shout out to him and my condolences, you know what I'm saying? No, basically, we're here. Today is the 4th of March, yes. 2026. And, we see what is happening globally in terms of geopolitics. And, we're at the crossroads as a people. When I come to these microphones, I come from a people's perspective, and oppressed people, black people in particular, African people, and oppressed people in general. But before I go any further, what Granny said, we are, of course, what Granny said, fall in and join the movement for national unity. What Granny said, build a national consciousness movement. What Granny said, listen for the date of a general strike, because even though Mr. Trump is waging imperial wars all around the world, our people think that we have no recourse. A general strike will be called, so just listen out for the date, because when we shut down the economy, he can't drop no bomb on us, because if we don't go to work, we don't go to school, everything shut down. And it's not just here in the Federation, but global, in terms of the Western world. We have options that we could take, you see, but people don't understand that a general strike is very important. What Granny said, one people, one aim, one destiny. What Granny said, one Pan-African Parliament. What Granny said, one Pan-African passport. What Granny said, one Pan-African currency. What Granny said, self-esteem. What Granny said, self-respect. What Granny said, self-reliance. What Granny said, self-determination. What Granny said, revolutionary Pan-Africanism is the solution to this pollution that we are facing in terms of the global situation. And it's great, my brother, because the way how I see it is that we have been made slaves again, especially here in the Western world. Trump is our slave master, and a lot of people might not understand what I'm saying, because he's dictating policy even for us here locally. We're in a very serious situation, so we got to be cognizant of those things. But before I go any further, I'd just like to read something here from the Honorable Marcus Garvey that I'm looking for. And, oh yeah, I got it here. So here's what the Honorable Marcus Garvey said. The political readjustment of the world means that those who are not sufficiently able, not sufficiently prepared, will be at the mercy of the organized classes for another 100 or 200 years. The only protection against injustice in man is power, physical, financial, and scientific. Education is the medium by which a people are prepared for the creation of their own particular civilization and the advancement and glory of their own race. Nationhood is the only means by which modern civilization can completely protect itself. Those are the words of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Now, my brother, when we look at what is happening, that the war that Mr. Trump is waging, not only here in the Caribbean or in the Western world, right? Because we know that he blew up some fishermen in St. Lucia and St. Vincent, right? So we are saying to our people, basically, brothers and sisters, that we as a people, we have to unite. Not only here in the Federation, which the African Consciousness Movement and the Movement for National Unity, we're waging a campaign to unify our people. This pot calling the kettle black politics is no longer viable. It was never viable in the first place. But right now we could see it's obsolete because what is taking place. And what I mean by that is that it doesn't matter who the Prime Minister is. If the government change tomorrow, they have to take the dictates of imperialism and colonialism, right, which Mr. Trump is waging at this particular time. Now, I like to play something here from Brother Malcolm X when you're talking about the unification of our people, not only here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, but in the whole Western world. You understand? So I just want our people to listen and listen to what Brother Malcolm has been saying.
Most people, when we say Afro-American, they think most people, when we say Afro-American, they think only of the Negroes in the United States, in the Caribbean, or the Afro-Cubans in the United States, in the Caribbean, or the Afro-Cubans, the Afro-Brazilians. The Afro-Brazilians. It's necessary for all of them to be organized, and then once it's necessary for all of them to be organized, and then once they are organized in each place, we have to have hated our image and our African image. And because we have to have hated our image and our African image. And because Africa has been in the hands of people who have created an image of Africa that's negative and hateful. And it has been hateful to us. We haven't wanted to identify with it. But now that Africa is getting independent, and we haven't wanted to identify with it. But now that Africa is getting independent, and
alliance, shoot to kill, Hamas alliance, shoot to kill.
Okay, that's basically it, brother. So what I'm saying, there was something wrong with the feed right there, but I'm gonna play it again because it's coming from a different source. What happened? We did a program last night, and the internet was dropping in and out, so that's the problem. But listen up again, brothers and sisters, you're going to get it straight now, this time.
most people, when we say Afro-American, they think only of the Negroes in the United States. But they don't realize that 2/3 of Brazil consists of people of African blood, which means they're also Afro-American because Brazil is in South America. And in all of these, many of these countries in South America and Central America, and even in Canada, they are heavily populated with people whose ancestors came from Africa. So when you total up the number of Afro-Americans, real Afro-Americans, in the Western Hemisphere, there are perhaps 100 million. And if these people ever unite among themselves, not only is it necessary for the Afro-Americans in the United States to be organized, but it's also necessary for the Afro-Americans in the Caribbean, or the Afro-Cubans, the Afro-Brazilians. It's necessary for all of them to be organized. And then once they're organized in each place, we have to organize among ourselves so that the Afro-American in the United States will be working in conjunction in a coordinated program with those who are in Cuba and those in Brazil and those in Venezuela. and those throughout the Caribbean, in Haiti, and in the West Indian Islands. And in this way, we actually get strength. And it's not an accident that there's no organization existing in the Western Hemisphere that's designed toward that end. It would be a direct threat to imperialism as it really exists, and to colonialism as it exists in the West. And one of the things that's going to help to bring this about is the independence of Africa. And one of the only reasons that we in the West have never organized, we have hated our image and our African image. And because Africa has been in the hands of people who have created an image of Africa that's negative and hateful. And it has been hateful to us. We haven't wanted to identify with it. But now that Africa is getting independent and in a position to create its own image, and it's a positive image, those of us in the West look at the African image and see how positive it is. We begin to identify with it. We become proud of Africa, and we become proud of our African blood, our African heritage. And this is what is beginning to make the Africans in the Western Hemisphere today develop more race pride, and as this race pride develops, then it has a tendency to make us want to unite together and work together, and your Western imperialists and colonialists consider this to be a grave threat, more threat than communism or Marxism or socialism or anything else. The Africanism is what they consider to be the real threat.
So, brother, you heard it from Brother Malcolm X. No. Hear this now. See, I have the document here. When FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover was asked what, in his opinion, was the single greatest threat to the United States of America, he responded, African unity. You could read it for yourself. You understand? So, basically, that is what they fear the most, African people uniting. So, the African Consciousness Movement and the Movement for National Unity, we are organizing right here on the ground in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis to unify our people because, like I said before, you know, the pot calling the kettle black politics is no longer a viable option for us in this dispensation. So, that's basically it, my brother. But before I go any further again, I want to read something here from the Black Nation in the West. The December 12th movement denounces the kidnapping of President Maduro and First Lady Celia Flores, the bombing of Venezuela and the murder of at least 40 Venezuelan citizens. We condemn the militarization of the Caribbean and the ongoing threats to Cuba, Colombia, and Mexico. As black people, we stand with our brothers and sisters in Latin America and the Caribbean, and indeed, in recently bombed Nigeria, to denounce that might makes right. We are living under the same threat as the nationalized police, invade cities run by black mayors are with high concentration of black and brown people. The thin veil of laws has been ripped away, and the naked theft of resources is visible. At home, all the hard fought for programs fueled by our taxes are being cut to fuel the military. Today in Venezuela, the U.S. proclaimed it is taking back its oil. As Congresswoman Maxine Waters said, what the hell is going on? What has Venezuela done to incite the wrath of the U.S.? Inside the country under its socialist president Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro, the government has used the country's oil wealth to cut the literacy rate and expand school enrollment, provide free health care and subsidize food, reduce poverty and income inequality, build public housing. So, one more statement, my brother, about what is taking place in Iran, basically, right? The provisional government of the Republic of New Africa, which consists of the whole Western world, the December 12th movement stands in solidarity with the people of Iran and condemns the vicious attack made by the U.S. and Israel yesterday, on February 28, 2026. The United States and Israel perpetrated their latest attack on the Iranian people, resulting in the assassination of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and a death toll of 201, including 60 young girls from an elementary school in Hamazgan province. We extend our solidarity and condolences as comrades with a shared enemy, U.S. imperialism, and respect Iran's sovereignty and ability to protect its citizens. At this moment, black people in the belly of the beast find themselves at sharpening odds with an American imperialist project forged in the blood of their laboring ancestors. The historic question of reparation raises its head not as a request for measly financial crumbs of a dying empire, but as a call for the unified struggle on an international scale raised to the level of human rights. The U.S. empire is in economic decline and losing the battle against socialism. The beast in its final death throes is lashing out in episodes of militaristic and economic violence aimed at the sovereignty of various nations, Iran being the latest in the schizophrenic crossfire of the United States. I rest there, my brother.
That the United States and Israel initiated against Iran is spreading. More and more countries are getting involved, not only in the Middle East, but in other regions of the world, and the U.S. and Israel are attacking more and more countries, while Donald Trump is now even threatening longtime U.S. allies in Europe. What we're seeing right now is a situation of chaos, and it's getting worse and worse as the U.S. government tries to solve every political issue with more bombs and bullets. So as the U.S. and Israel have been bombing Iran, Iran has been retaliating in self-defense, which it is allowed to do under international law, and Iran has been hitting U.S. military bases in many countries surrounding it in the Middle East, in West Asia. Meanwhile, the global price of oil has been skyrocketing because Iran has vowed to shut down the Strait of Hormuz, which is the most important oil transit choke point on Earth. Every single day, 1/5, more than 20% of the global oil supply travels through this very narrow strait, and it's right off the coast of Iran, and Tehran has vowed to shut down this strait in response to the U.S.-Israeli war. At the same time, the State Department has ordered U.S. citizens to evacuate all of the countries of the region, including Bahrain, Egypt, Iran, Iraq, Israel, occupied Palestine, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Syria, the United Arab Emirates, and Yemen. And yet, at the same time, the U.S. State Department is not actually providing any support for Americans who are trying to flee these countries. It's a situation of extreme chaos. But instead of trying to stabilize the situation, you know what Donald Trump is doing? He's threatening to pour fuel on the fire, and now the U.S. government is making plans to arm Kurdish groups, fighters, not only in Iran, but also in Iraq, to wage a war on the ground instead of sending U.S. troops. CNN reported that the CIA is working to arm Kurdish forces to spark an uprising in Iran. And according to CNN, the U.S. strategy is not only to arm these Kurdish mercenaries in northwestern Iran, but also in northeastern Iraq, So the U.S. wants them to invade Iran from across the Iraqi border. This could spread the war even further because this is very likely going to worry Turkey, a NATO member, which is constantly playing the West against the East, playing both sides. Turkey is deathly afraid of Kurdish armed groups because for decades there have been Kurdish armed groups operating in southeastern Turkey. So as the CIA prepares an invasion of Iran by arming these Kurdish militants, Turkey may also start attacking these Kurdish groups in Iraq, in Iran, in Turkey, maybe even in Syria, because the U.S. was previously backing armed Kurdish groups in Syria to try to overthrow the Syrian government, which the U.S. did succeed in. So the U.S. is now threatening to expand this war further by potentially dragging in Turkey, which has the second largest military in.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll pose. We have just about 3 minutes left as we wrap up this segment of issues, this beginning segment of issues. But Ross Kalungi, why do you think it is that America has bombed Iran? I mean, this is like an issue that has many parts to it. But if you, I mean, because personally, to me, it seems like it's about many things, but about oil. I mean, he just, as the reporter just said, 20% of the oil goes through that strait there in Iran. And I mean, if you connect the dots, Venezuela has oil, large oil reserves. Iran has oil, and so these seem to be the places that are targets.
But it's all about oil.
Yeah.
Other people's natural resources.
Right.
Now, before I go any further, I'd just like to let the audience know that this is the 400th anniversary of the genocide, the liquidation, the extermination of the native people in this land here, Layamiga.
As you said, it's the
400th anniversary.
Yeah.
400 years, 1626 to 2026.
Okay, so
400
in
years.
1626 is when the colonizers came and completely wiped out.
No, but they were here already. But
Okay.
France and England was fighting a war.
Over the country. Over the
right
land.
here at the time.
Yeah.
And they called for a ceasefire, a cessation of the hostilities, and combined to liquidate the native people.
Okay.
So we want our people to know that.
Yeah.
This is also
the Caribs and the Arawaks.
Yeah, the Kalinagos, as we call them.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but this is also the 400th anniversary of the first documented evidence that we have. Here was a documented evidence of the first Africans being brought to the country also.
Oh, that same year?
Yeah. The French.
So they wiped out the Kalinago people and then brought in Africans to work the land.
To create wealth for them, which is the labor force.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Right,
so we people got to be aware of these things.
No, 100%.
You see what I'm saying? So it's very important that we know these things because 2026 is a very important year. 400 years.
Yeah.
Now we see Mr. Trump is waging war.
400 years of slavery.
Enslavement of our people.
There's a parallel there.
Yeah. So what I'm saying to you now is that we now have the Monroe Doctrine, where the United States said that the whole Western world. Now the Monroe Doctrine was proclaimed by President Monroe in 1823. Right? I think this is the 203rd anniversary of the Monroe Doctrine. So Mr. Trump have upgraded it to the Donroe Doctrine. You see? So you see, we had the CARICOM summit here, and Mr. Rubio was here. He gave a speech in Munich, in Germany, where he's basically saying is that the United States is going to recolonize not only the Western world, but the whole globe they want to. But they're starting in the Western world. I want our people to be aware of the national security strategy document that they put out for the Western world. That's why you see they attack Maduro in Venezuela. They're choking Cuba. You know what I'm saying? Nobody could carry no oil there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, imagine that me and you is neighbors, and I dictating to you that you can't eat no food. You understand? So basically, that's it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Russ.
Oh, that's it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes. Yeah,
All
no.
right.
2:00. I thank you for. If you want to give a closing statement, that's fine.
Oh, yeah.
But
Definitely. I want to give a closing statement. I thought the program will be long. But anyhow, I want to state basically that I don't know if you ever heard about the Dred Scott decision.
no, I'm not aware of it.
Okay, the Dred Scott decision was a decision from the Supreme Court in 1857. When Taney read his opinion, only one judge concurred with him. 5 others read separate and varied concurring opinions, and 2 dissented head-on. The Chief Justice ruled that from the founding of the country, meaning the United States, Africans had been considered as a subordinate and inferior class of beings, who therefore had no right which the white man was bound to respect. Taney further declared that Africans could not rightfully become citizens of the United States since the words of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution were never meant to include Africans. You hear that? So we are not human beings. And I'll just like to rest with this, my brother. Let us not deny our ideals. This is a quote from His Imperial Majesty.
Yes.
Let us not deny our ideals nor sacrifice our right to stand as the champion of the poor, the ignorant, and the oppressed everywhere. Principles alone can endow our ideals with force and meaning. Let us be true to what we believe, that our belief may serve and honor us. We remain persuaded that in our efforts to scatter the clouds which dim the horizon of our future, success must come, if only because failure is unthinkable, patience, grim determination are required, and faith in the mighty of the Most High Jah Rastafari. Give thanks.
Well, a very pleasant good afternoon to you. On issues, well, we had the first part of issues today, Avery and Raskalunji. And today, at this time, I take over the helm of issues. It's yours truly, Austin Edinburgh. Well, you know you normally hear me on a Wednesday anyway. But today, it's, I found it to be quite interesting what is happening in the world today. And so, for that reason, I have put a few topics together that I would like to speak briefly on. And then I will open up the lines and give you an opportunity to have your say, whether it's on the issues that I raise or on anything that you may wish to bring to the public's attention. Now, the state of the world today. State of the world today is a situation where it's filled with rage and war. And the two main powers that's perpetuating these wars, Russia and the United States of America. Interestingly, President Putin of Russia, and he's called that by the White House and Donald Trump, President Putin of the United States of America, has been accused of every transgression that Maduro was accused of. Every single transgression that the United States accused Maduro of, they accused Putin of it. But yet it is necessary, they say, not only necessary, but was of extreme importance that Maduro be removed. And the same senators and cabinet members of the United States of America and members of the House as well, whole of them, think that it is okay to engage with Russia. Yeah, we'll put on a little sanction here and a little sanction there, but we will engage with Russia, who is led by a man that has been accused of exactly what President Maduro has been accused of. But extract President Maduro and leave Putin in the Kremlin. You must wonder, why? But if you look at all of those governments, they're headed by a white man or a white woman. The Europeans, the Scandinavians, the United States of America, all of those, England, all of those, complexion is exactly like Putin. Maduro is considered brown. But here's what I have to say. If it's good for Maduro, then it should be better for Putin. And I'll tell you why. Because the one thing that Putin has done, but Maduro threatened but never did, was to wage a war and invaded another country to take it over. And let me be extremely clear. That threat was made against Guyana, by Maduro. President Putin inflicted it on Ukraine. But yet, he should be engaged. But Maduro should be extracted and put on trial in some U.S. court. I have a difficulty with that. I have a difficulty with engaging with a man who is accused of the very same thing. That the other is accused of. But somehow that one should be taken out while the other one is engaged with. And has gone further by actually waging a war. And now we have war again. And I know that they've used their proxy in Israel to start the hostility. But President Trump has said emphatically that they pushed Israel to do it. So it's their war. It's the war of the United States of America. And you listen to the Congress and the Senate and the White House, they're actually saying it because it is the U.S. who will determine the conditions. If there is some cessation or end. What is interesting with the state of the world and very comparative is that when Putin started the war with Ukraine, there was an increase in the price of oil and wheat and all of those things. Natural gas, all of these things, the prices went up. The same thing has happened now again with this war against Iran, where the oil price, natural gas, and everything else will shut up. And it was said on CNN last night. Because once oil goes up, transportation goes up. Once there is war, security goes up. So security meaning insurance cost. Once that goes up, then the cost of production goes up. And the cost of living skyrockets. So you had Putin that did it, and now Trump. The impact that these wars have on small island states like ours is enormous. And we can't do anything about it. Or at least not today. Because we are dependent on the production in other countries to determine how much we pay and if we eat at all. It determines the cost of transportation, domestic transportation. It reduces your disposable income. And governing parties normally gets the blame, as if they could do anything about what has happened. And so I just thought that I would raise that issue and remind all of us, including myself, that this cost of living increase that is to come is yet another, or will create yet another inflated inflation. They know why they're doing it. Because they sell oil. They sell arms. And so they will make the profits from the wars that they create. We will suffer the consequences of a cost of living increase, of a deliberately inflated inflation increase. I just want us to be prepared for its coming. You listened to the news in the U.S. last night, and people are running to the pump and filling up, and they said by the end of this week into early next week, they expect the cost of gasoline at the pump to go up a further 25 cents per gallon. Just thought that I would bring that to your attention. The other thing that I would like to put before you and speak on briefly is Statehood 60 that would be coming next year. For us, it would be the 60th anniversary, 60th year since the coming of statehood. I addressed it in my commentary this week, and I believe it is long, long, long overdue that the contribution of statehood to the development and all that we enjoy in St. Kitts and Nevis today as an independent country should be recorded, should be recognized, should be celebrated, and retired with full honor. It's about time that when every citizen comes to the realization of wanting to know about the history of St. Kitts and Nevis, that they be aware that our internal dynamics and economic, social, and educational development started after 1967 and the coming of statehood. Our history as a nation did not begin at independence. No. It did not begin at independence. It started with statehood. Let's do what we need to do. Let us become proactive in bringing this honorable retirement for Statehood 60. And I want to say, and I'm going to refer to one particular thing that happened on the statehood. And it is not because it happened on the statehood that I want to make a reference to it. Well, let's say two. That could be one, or could or should have been one in the end. Provident Fund was the first savings that was introduced because it was recognized that person, when they got to the age of retirement, and that time 60, 55, between there, they became dependent on the state and the handouts from others to survive. And so National Provident Fund was introduced. In 1978, law establishing the Social Security Board was enacted. and passed into law. And I would say, and I remembered when the talk was about giving back Provident Fund, the then St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party said what they intended to do. I believe they should have done it with the law when it came in. Make Provident Fund a part of that law and its transfers to Social Security. And I'll tell you what. I'll tell you why. Because even though some people seem to have voted on saying they will get back their Provident Fund, it was based on a lie to give you the impression that you were going to lose it. That was never the case. The case was that it will go to you becoming pensionable. So let us say a person who was 50 in 1978 or 55 in 1978. It meant that they would not have qualified for Social Security when they got to age 62. Because you had to have made, I think it's 1,000 contributions, but 10 years of work. So you would not have qualified. And so the intention was to do the calculations, make the transfer, so that when you got to 62, even though you would not have qualified under Social Security, you would have still gotten a pension. That was the intention. So Pam, and coming into office with NRP, said that they gave back the pension. Some got and some didn't get, and some ain't get the full amount. All of those things were bandied about in the public. But the real travesty was that persons who were beyond, let us say, 57, soon found that at 62 they had no pension. So they would have gotten back their Provident Fund, and when you get it like that, you're going to spend it. Sometimes you're going to spend it unnecessarily. But at 62 years, because they didn't have 10 years of work under Social Security, they had no pension. That is what that action did to those people. Now, persons who were younger, it meant that they would have gotten more had that been added to it. But okay, so it was not a part of the law. Pam had the opportunity to make it a part of the law, which would have been the best thing they can do for those people. But what did they do? They made them pensionless. And they didn't care because they had their pension plans that they were paying to, and therefore would have become pensionable within that short period of time because they had their pension plan. I spoke about the encouragement of persons not to pay or not to join and all of those things, and then they turned around and prosecuted the employers who took their advice. But the point is, for me, the point is that the fact that persons who, because that was 1980, thereabout 81 is when they gave it back. So for you to get a pension when you became 62, it meant that you had to be working since you were 52. to get a pension under Social Security. But because it came into being only in 1978, there was a little complication, and that would have been addressed by the transfer of the National Provident Fund. But it just threw you out there to suffer at 62, when you got no pension and had to continue working even if you didn't want to, because you had nothing coming in. And you know, these are the things that happened and that people today are not aware of or have forgotten, and then would give the impression that all of their difficulties that they are facing started today. That's not true. The conditions were sown since day before yesterday, because the tree grew, matured, and then gave you what you have today as the fruit. And so it is important. The other subject matter that I would raise is that of CBI, and whether our CBI is stronger or weaker, and some article talking about CBI debacle. And I want to get let me try and bring up on the internet here, because I like to, I like to give you information, not out of the top of my head. And so what you had in terms of CBI, and what is CBI? What is this CBI thing all about? What is it that attracts people to CBI? The main thing that attracts people to CBI is the ability to travel with more ease to the big countries that you would like to go to, like Europe and the USA, etc., than if you had a passport from your country of birth. That's the main reason. There are others who would like to move to certain places because of a better living condition, a place where they feel safer and more secured. Those are other reasons why a person may decide to get or to seek citizenship by investment. Because even though the term said citizenship by investment, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to make an investment in a business. You could buy a house. If you buy property, that's one way that you can qualify. You could make a contribution of an amount that is declared in the law. And that's another way that you can qualify for citizenship. Or, well, in some places, and it was in our situation very early in the life of CBI here, where you bought treasury bonds. There are different ways. Or, as they have it now in St. Kitts, something called a public good, which I really don't understand. I think it's the worst type of CBI program there is. And that's where investors, and was very loose under the Team Unity administration, collect money on behalf of persons who want to get CBI. They are given a certain amount of shares to sell, and you sell it, and then the investment that you say you would do, you do it, and pretty much the rest of it goes to you, apart from the fees and so forth that comes to government. And so that's why I want to say to you, so what debacle are we in? We all know that very recently, as a matter of fact, let me say, going back to about 10 years, when a group of people for political advancement call themselves Operation Room and call themselves Indian Unity, went around this world and gave people the impression that all kind of bad things were happening with our CBI program and all kind of corrupt practices were happening, and made the governments of the world aware of the type of income that was possible under the CBI. And so they promised that they would do all kinds of things for them if they helped them to make it difficult. And so the United States of America, one of the things that it did was that it put an advisory, financial advisory on St. Kitts and Nevis. Canada, and they said that it stopped our visa-free travel. All of that coming just around between 2013 and 2014. And so they began to have difficulty with CBI. It did not improve in those years. What happened in particular with St. Kitts was that they started to give people a whole lot of opportunities to sell, a whole lot more than they were required to bring in, to do a lot less. That is what happened. And so you hear them talk about a lot of money coming in. Well, former Prime Minister House, I remember him going on the radio and saying, no, the government doesn't get that. The government just gets its fees. I remember him going on the radio and saying, under the public good thing. But that as it may, it meant, therefore, that what you were doing is giving a number of persons the opportunity to become citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis. And obviously people who had more money than you, the ordinary Kittitians, and certainly, according to them, persons who were nefarious. But one project alone had the capacity to allow 25,000 persons to have citizenship to St. Kitts and Nevis, the prison project. I have never been one who think that our country is better off by making its indigenous African population. I remember what I'm saying. I'm not talking about indigenous as to the start of St. Kitts and Nevis. I'm talking about in an independent state, because CBI couldn't happen until we were independent. So we would be the minority, or could be the minority. And I never liked that aspect of it. And so because, and this is in the Caribbean now, is under scrutiny. When you're talking about CBI debacle, I want you to show me the comparative figures and show me that at this time, Dominica has gone up in terms of the amount of citizenships that they would have sold. Grenada, St. Lucia, Antigua Barbuda, I can guarantee you that the last report on all of them would have reflected a decline, including St. Kitts and Nevis. I don't think that is necessarily a bad thing. That's how I feel. But the point is, when it means that the ordinary Kittitian, who you trying to say should have all the rights in the world, I mean saying they shouldn't, you now want to big cry something that is going to make them a less valued citizen because you have 50, 60, 70,000 people that have far more money than them and who could come in and get on the voting register and vote a government in that they want. That could be the worst thing for St. Kitts and Nevis. But because they will get what they want. It means that your sovereignty would be under threat as a natural born citizen if persons who attained citizenship by investment outnumber you. And so I can't say that it is necessarily a bad thing, and I'm for them to be making some big song and dance about. So let me tell you why I believe that the value, as a matter of fact, when we can begin to sell for $500,000 and $1 million, and people still want it, that's when I would say that we have a good CBI program. Because anybody who is going to invest that in a passport would mean that they would invest more in the country. Now, I want to speak about two things, or go back to two things I spoke about. I spoke about the FinCEN advisory that was put into place in 2014. That went into place in 2014. And so I want to ask Team Unity and this ridiculous publication, I want to ask them, what were they doing between 2015, when they were elected, and 2022, when they were voted out? What were they doing about cleaning up the FinCEN advisory? What were they doing? Why did they not get it happen? They came in when they were promising the restoration of visa-free travel to Canada. So I want to ask them again, what were they doing in that 7 years between 2015, when they got in, and 2022, when they were voted out? What were they doing why they could not get back a visa-free travel to Canada? As a matter of fact, let me tell you when that visa-free access was restored. It says, Barstay, St. Kitts and Nevis, and this comes from SKNIS, August 6, 2023. Press Secretary PMO, the Government of Canada announced a significant development in bilateral relations with the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis in July, meaning July of 2023. The granting of partial visa-free waiver to Kittitians and Nevisians, allowing them to travel to Canada by air for short stay without the need of a visa. That restoration happened under this administration. And such a restoration would strengthen the CBI product beyond what it was before that restoration. In 2014, the Treasury Department, FinCEN advisory came out on St. Kitts and Nevis. When I spoke about it some time ago, people say, oh, never mind, it's still on their website. It was the 26th of February this year, again, under the Dr. Terence Drew-led administration, that advisory was rescinded. What were they doing? Or why did the Treasury Department of the United States of America didn't have the confidence in which to rescind the advisory for the 7 years that Team Unity was in? And so when they're talking about debacle, I'm saying, one, the scrutiny that is placed on the CBI program in the entire Caribbean has made it less attractive. Had it not made it less attractive for all of them, they would not have come together on an initiative spearheaded by our Prime Minister to have regional regulations, to have a regulatory body through the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank to regulate CBI. And so we have to be stronger. You may not be seeing the income that you see now, and that is throughout the entire Caribbean, where the revenue. But again, I'm going to say, I ain't so vexed, you know, because I don't want so much people for that less of an investment to become citizens when they can live elsewhere and spend their money elsewhere and invest elsewhere, but have the luxury of a passport which gives them ease of travel that they would not have gotten in their country of origin. If they choose to live here, then they're in a better position than you are financially. And so they will be able to extract more benefits out of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis than you would be able to. Just look around you and you'll see that even those who were born here but are better off economically are better able to extract more. And so, again, I'm going to say, I don't say the debacle, because this administration has embarked on a robust economic diversification program this administration came into office saying that they will remove the corruption from the CBI. This administration, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, Dr. Terence Drew-led administration, came into office saying to you that they will restore your sovereignty and your dignity. In fact, the only prime minister ever in the Federation. And so prime ministers began with Dr. Kennedy Simmons, Dr. Douglas, Dr. Harris, Dr. Drew. The only of the four of them to challenge you with the fact that selling huge amounts of passports can damage your sovereignty is this Prime Minister, Dr. Terence. And so as long as we continue to diversify and grow our economy, even without that, but that is happening, I would say the less passport we have to sell, the better it is for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. 4650546, 4656474, 662-1065. I took a little longer than I expected. Let me apologize for that. Those are the numbers to call if you wish to join the dialogue on issues today. 465. Well, we have a call coming in now, so let's take our first caller. Caller, okay, we missed that one. Could you kindly call back? We missed that call. 4650546, 4656474, 662-1065. Good afternoon. Oops. Well, we seem to be having a little issue with our 6474. Let's try again. Caller, good afternoon. We also have 4650546, 662-1065. So if you want to try another number, it's 662-1065. Let's go back to the line. Good afternoon, caller. Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. Yeah, we're having a telephone issue this afternoon, and I don't want to not try to take this call. Good afternoon, caller. Let me suggest to you that you use another of our telephone lines. We have 4650546 or 662-1065. Those are two other lines on which you can call. But in the meantime, I will try to take the call. Caller, good afternoon. All right, here we are. All right, so we are having an issue with our telephone, and I hope it is not all of the lines. I've seen it on 6474, so you can try 0546 or 662-1065. Those are the other two numbers. 6474. Yeah, but when I answered it. All right, and so let me continue having the conversation. Okay, let's try again. Caller, good afternoon. Caller, good afternoon.
Dr. Ellenborough, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, sir.
Yes, and this is Sunday night. Was occupied with one caller. I'm so sweet.
But in fairness, I called his name, so I had to give him some time to.
Me agree with that. No, I got no problem with the thing. But what me say, it's so sweet, man. I love to hear TV and
yes.
And you're the guy that very wise. You know, that's very wise. I love to hear the two of them. Anyway.
Yes.
No answer me on this now. Save the answer for Sunday night. Give me an update on the Sunday night market.
Well, I have not
Sunday
seen
night.
I've not seen anything being done on it. I'll ask them a question as to where they are.
Yeah, okay, no problem. So let me deal with the issues of the day.
Yes.
Good afternoon to all the listeners anyway. One thing we just really check out with all politicians when in a government. They all time start from the opposition when position me in. Right? Because tell me up to now when Canada cut the visa thing, tell me who he done under,
Dr. Denzel Douglas.
Okay, no, you tell me. You can just say, all right. So listen to me now. Then you said now restore now and Dr. Terence June.
Yes.
Right. But tell me something. You believe to yourself, truthfully, that since Dr. Terence June go in, he just done? You don't think that a negotiation from year to year coming up, and then he just get the success? You don't think so?
Well, it's one thing I will never be able to say, is that it is all about that, and I can't say that it doesn't have a little bit of that. But let me point out to you one thing that also happened in Canada during that period of time. There was a change. There was a change of administration in Canada as well. And so I believe it is the negotiating skills, the quiet and soft diplomatic approach of our Prime Minister that gets certain things done.
Why me love you? Why look, me love you to death.
but you don't think so? Look at the fence. Look at the FinCEN advisory. The FinCEN advisory has been in since around the same time.
And then let me touch one more point and give somebody else a chance, because we see other people may try for it.
Yes.
Then hit team unity and say that the team unity give some leverage for like investors come and like borrow money, like and so forth. And then you make one thing like with the prison, the X amount or right. But then under Labour back, the same thing. Let me have with Crystal Harbour and all that kind of something there.
No, it was slightly different. Christopher Harbour was not. There was a project down there on Christopher Harbour. Well, the hotel Park Hyatt. It used the facility of CBI to get through. So
okay.
But that was successful. But the issue is not under which government. For me, I'm saying to you, I didn't like it under Simmons. I didn't like it under Douglas. I didn't like it under Harris. And I don't like it under Drew. That we have to sell our citizenship for investment. We can't be relying too heavily on that. Otherwise, we will become an endangered species in our own country.
Okay. Yeah, just one chance. On Sunday night, Sunday, me and you.
Yes. I'll hear you on Sunday.
Oh, okay, no problem.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, well, telephone lines are cleared again. Let's try this call again. Caller, good afternoon. Welcome to
Greetings.
Issues. Greetings.
Okay, like one who were blind and now see, because to give thanks. we are issue you advised me on the Social Security. I followed through and was successful. So we just called to give thanks.
Bless, man.
Have a blessed day.
Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
Well, you see, and that's what I'm saying. statehood 60 is coming up. And that date should not pass. It will really ache me if that date passed without quite honorable retirement of statehood. I spoke about it Sunday night too, and I explained I am not asking anybody to return to statehood. We are already an independent country. I just say, let us recognize it. Let us give it the honor that it deserves. Let's take this other call. Caller, good afternoon. Oops. I don't know if this, because I just received a call on that line, and it held, so I don't know what's happening there with this particular call. Let's see again. Caller, good afternoon. No, there seemed to be somewhat of an issue with that. I don't know if it's that person's telephone, but 646-56474. I'm getting some issues with it. The second call came through on that number, and it was extremely good. But we have a few more minutes, just about 4 more minutes on the program today. And remember, it was a short program today. But it is extremely important that when we hear people talking about debacle, and as if you move away your reliance on the CBI, it is a bad thing. Or if you have to sell less people your citizenship to attract investment and to grow your economy, is such a bad thing. And I'm going to take this call again. Caller, good afternoon. Welcome to his
Greetings forward. Thanks for taking our call again.
Yes.
Okay, we are in the month of March.
Yes, we are.
First thing we want to big up our March big day. Yeah. Go up on yourself. Yeah, give thanks to priceless blessing. LIFE. Yeah, make out of it. In the month of March, as a race, we start the 1st of March, the anniversary of the Battle of Adwa. Mm-hmm. It was a battle betwixt Italy and Ethiopia. Mm-hmm. And we were victorious. I say we because I consider myself as an African person. Mm-hmm. You know, Ethiopia is part of the continent, just like Egypt, just like other places. So we want to say to ourselves, you know, Irie anniversary victory of the Battle of Adwa as a people. And to add that with confidence, you know, even the Honorable, our teacher, Marcus Magabi, said that with confidence, even before we start, we have won, you know, anything. We have overcome anything with confidence. Yeah? That word there is a very strong word. We must have confidence in ourselves as a noble race of people. Give thanks.
Give thanks, man. And I was about to say that, and so let me say this now because we're coming towards the end of the program, that between 2015 and 2022, I read the article the other night, and I'm going to refer to it again, when the manufacturing sector was just about decimated. 90+% of our manufacturing industries went away from St. Kitts and Nevis, whatever the reasons were. And we did not have any replacement in that manufacturing sector until 2023, or 2024, sorry, yes, because I think the factory was open this year, 2024, when the manufacturing factory that would make spouting made its advance to the government in terms of creating the conducive environment for such a factory to be built. The important thing is that we have a more resilient economy. And if we are only dependent on one thing, it won't be so resilient. When it was sugar, even though that is something we produced, they made a lot of noise and said we need more. Tourism was ventured into to provide the more. Manufacturing, apart from the manufacturing of sugar, was gone into the light manufacturing industry, clothes making, making of electronic components, those kinds of things, televisions. We had that here. So we diversified. And then gradually they brought the economy back to depend on one thing and one thing only. CBI, and to a lesser extent, tourism. I believe that the time has come for us to move forward. The time has come for us to diversify our economy. The time has come for us to understand that what the rest of the world does, we will feel it in our pockets. Unfortunately, these wars will bring us an increase in the cost of living. I'm asking you to prepare yourself as best as you can, that you can live in whatever hardship, because there would be, it would get a little harder because of these things that these conditions bring. If you prepare yourself, you will be better able to deal with it. And as we move out tonight, I want to say again, because independence is important to me as well. Statehood 60 is coming. Let's give it the retirement it deserves. Until I'm back with you on issues, it's a very pleasant good afternoon to you. I'll see you next, or hear you next, on The Conversation on Sunday. Until then, be blessed.
Freedom FM, 106.5 FM.
Established in 1996, Island Purified Water has prided itself by providing purified bottled water in 13-ounce, 21-ounce, 1.5 liters, 5 liters, and 5-gallon sizes. Pick up a bottle or